All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to a extra Locker Room Sports Talk SEC Media Day. Got to talk about some stuff that happened here on day one. Glad you stopped by to hang out with me for, I don't know, probably about 30 minutes or so. Also, some news about Nick Saban. I'm just telling you what I hear. They're saying that he's headed back to be coaching football again. That's what they're saying. I have watched Greg McElroy's take on it. Try to figure out, where he's coming from with that, and I'm not sure where all that. I mean, he says it's from a good source, so let's just kind of see how it plays out the next few days. Personally, now I don't. We'll talk about that first. Then let me hit the comment section over here. Personally, I don't see how. I mean, what does Saban have to? What does he have to prove? We're talking about Nick Saban, supposed to be coming back to football. Here's the first thing I'll say up front. This is the type of stuff we wind up hearing like every year. I mean, every time he goes away, and I mean the board can't even coach a game, and they're already saying, "Well, he's coming back." I personally, I don't see it happening. I do know that he is a very competitive guy. We all know that, and most people watching know him as good as I do. We watch him on TV. We see him on the podcast stuff. He's a little more open now than he used to be. I did watch one where he did a Summers clip he did with Eli Manning, and it was back probably a year or two ago. It looked like, because they were still talking about coaching and stuff at Bama, and they didn't bring up retirement stuff. So now, as far as that, also, I mean, where would Sanky be at, with Saban, coming back to coaching? I mean, he could definitely write his own check. I mean, he's Nick Saban. He's, the greatest to ever do it. But how would that affect, the conference? And we don't know. What if he don't come back to this conference? What if he don't come back to SEC? There was rumors back some time ago, probably 2016, 17 or so, that Texas was interested in him, and they threw a bunch of money at him, and he turned them down. That if he did return to coaching, that it would be they would be interested in him at. I mean, it wouldn't everybody be interested in him, but come coach at Texas. That would kind of be the play on that. Then lastly on that, I do watch Taylor Siski and them on their podcast over there. You can go just type in Taylor Siski. He's from Donahoe down here, up here in this area, Anniston area. Just side note stuff. I met him before down at JSU at Jacksonville back in the 90s. Just, long time ago. But I do remember meeting the guy. He's just a regular old dude, but he's coached a lot. Been around Saban, been at Ole Miss, been around Auburn. He knows Coach Freeze well. And McCarron is on their podcast. Taylor and Siski probably every other day. I don't think he comes on every day. AJ says that from what he's gathered from the people that play golf with Coach Saban, which told him months and months before Saban retired that, well, this is it for him. This is it for Saban. He's going to hang it up. This is going to be his last year. And they were right. So he still sees these people, and he said they are extremely reliable people. There's about 3 guys that Saban plays golf with that AJ talks to. And he said, I'm telling you, I ain't heard nothing about it. Those guys are not saying anything about it. Now, does that mean it's not true? We really don't know. It's just speculation. And lastly, I'll close it with how I opened it. I think it's all it's kind of the dead part right now. We're talking about media day stuff, getting ready for football. So the next couple of weeks, everybody's going to be putting out their preseason top 25. And Sunday, me and Dean come on and did our, new top name quarterbacks. Some of the new guys that's going to be talked about a lot, and cover some schedules and they're tough games for those teams. So go back over there. You can find us on the YouTube channel or on Facebook. Go up to the pinned part and you can watch Sunday's show. It was about a 2-hour show. We went through Alabama, Notre Dame, Texas, and Auburn. Went through those guys and answered a lot of questions. Had a good show. So I think it's just clickbait, if you just want to put it that way. So I think we can put that to rest. Now, here's some other news. Teddy Bridgewater, he coaches down at a little place in Florida, down there at Miami Northwestern High School. And I think this was just something to share. It does tie in with high school stuff, and we do cover high school stuff around here in the area up from the mountain and down that way toward Gadsden area some. And Teddy Bridgewater just got suspended as the head coach, reported by RG3 from Miami Northwestern High School, because he covered Uber rides, meals, and recovery services for his players out of his own pocket last season. Taking care of his players when they were in need and teaching them how to take care of their bodies and giving them necessities to help them chase their dreams for a higher future, RG3 writes. Not cheating or stealing, just caring. RG3 continues and closes with, he gave them the tools to chase a better future and is getting punished for it. Suspending Teddy Bridgewater is injustice, RG3 writes. It's punishing love, leadership, and sacrifice. You can find this over there on Locker Room Sports Notes page. This is the same reason the NCAA is seen as a complete joke, and we all know what rolls downhill. I mean, where are we at when this is the type of stuff that, we're going to punish this guy? And Teddy's a good guy, retired from the game and has decided to give back to a high school down there. I think it's a complete farce. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I hate it. I don't know. It just bothers me, man, because we all know kids from college, players that we cover and we talk about them a lot, but they all played high school somewhere, and we all know some high school players that had a hard time. We've heard stories about DJ Fluker at Bama, for an example, sleeping in his car and that type of stuff. And when a coach wants to give out his own pocket, which if most of you played that are watching, and probably a lot of you did, coaches give way more than what they even give credit. What credit is even being given for? Okay, I don't see what the big deal is. I could tell you another story too. About a young guy that's a friend of mine. He was at an Auburn game, alumni down there when Auburn was on their run to beat Oregon that year. He offered one of the defensive players, known to be Nick Fairley, to buy his meal, buy a cheeseburger, and he was told that he could not do that and that they could get in trouble for it. I don't know where we're at right now. I mean, you're basically buying players. Basically, that's what's going on. They say it's NIL, but how many NIL deals do we actually see? These kids are just point blank. They're getting paid flat out to come play at programs. And the NCAA just absolutely ran from this and didn't want to have any guts to it at all, to stand up and build some kind of box around it, to have some kind of guidance system, guardrails that Saban had told them about. They just let it start happening. But we're going to suspend Teddy, at a high school down here, which is not, NCAA, but in meaning that the high schools are the trickle down and it rolls downhill to them. The NCAA is to set an example of how things are supposed to be, because these kids play the football game. And I think the football game is great. I think it's going to bring some popularity back to college football. I think it's going to work out and be great. So, with that being said, I'm really disappointed in how they've handled this. Their FHSAA, the Florida High School Association, whatever they got going on down there, just come on, man. There's so much crooked stuff going on that they could put a finger on to try to make a difference in helping some of this, and this is absolutely not the way to do it. So now, so the Saban talk, I think it's just cloud medicine. Just try to create a bunch of talk because there's not a whole lot going on right now. So media day, day one, we'll give some times for day two tomorrow. Tomorrow will be probably a better day, but today Sanky opens up, the conference. Had a few things to say. He's talking about having meaningful process towards a degree. That seemed to be a key point to him. And we all understand what he's saying. We can't forget that these student athletes have come to college to get a degree. That's what they're there to do, and that's what the main goal is to go to college. It's to get a degree in something that you want to do. And most of these guys do marketing, business, some sort. Some of them do, sports administration type stuff, and they'll stay, involved in sports and that type of stuff. Some do criminal justice, do that kind of stuff, and go on to know that they go in the league and play 5, 6, 7 years. It's possible to make millions of dollars. I mean, if you go, super low, rounds 5, 6, 7 or whatever, you're still getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a great opportunity for you and your family to be able to get ahead and put some money up. And sometimes if you're really good and you put in work, when you have those super talented guys like Jaden Daniels, okay, that are naturally good and they work at it, you can make a lot of money. But Sankey wanted to add that meaningful process towards a degree. That's still important. That's one of his main points he made. I wanted to highlight that. Now, he says college athletics is strained but not broken. Some people on other podcasts that cover teams that are not really good seem to think that there is a lot of strain on college football, and if there's cracks in the foundation, and if they don't get a handle on it right away, that the dam could bust, and all the bad could happen. And I guess those people that cover a broken down program for years and years, their program's just been bad, and they just don't have anything hardly good to say at all. They don't have much to add to anything besides kind of doom and gloom, because that's all they know. They don't really have a team to cheer for. So some of those less than teams seem like their podcast people see things on a negative light. We see it as things are changing, and they're trying to figure out a way to get ahead of this. And to talk to Patini, the Big Ten commissioner, Sankey said that they talk about 4 days a week, which is they're trying to build something special to where they're going to have a group of 5 champs to automatically have bids, and then at some time you'll add 6 more this year. I think that's going to how to do it, but then they'll add 8 more, 5 and 8, because there's going to be a 16-team playoff. So, and then they'll have an independent, and then also a at-large team. I'm not in for 16 team. I really don't like the 12. We'll see how it goes this year. The 12 team was last year. They kind of really poo-pooed it up. They still want to make the feel-good story to make people seem interested, I guess. And all we've heard is how the NIL and how this stuff is going to even it out and get the lesser guys to have the opportunity. No, it hasn't. It never was going to. I said that. You could go find the show 2 years ago, and probably in 22 or 23, where I said gonna it's not gonna equal things out because there's just some that do and some that just don't, and the ones that don't have the players and don't have the equal athleticism to play against the larger schools that have the money. They said that Texas and Sark and them spent $50 million this year. Ohio State was said to spend 30 to win them a title last year. And Saban was the one griping about it. And, people, I don't know why people was, fussed and fluffed about him saying it. And, it's kind of odd for like the rich guy in town talk about paying more taxes. That's kind of what it would be like. So it's not. The portal has allowed kids, young men, I guess I'm saying kids, they're 18 or older men, to move unconsciously to wherever they feel like that they can play and not have to stay and fight for position. Now, is that true all the time in every situation? Matt, you're saying that, well, everybody, all the kids are just, trying to get out of a school and they don't want to work for their position. That's not true all the time. It's not. A lot of times it's to give those young men an opportunity that they wouldn't have at one place to have at another one. They're not just hunting a bag. So, because you got to remember, we talk about the ones that make the 7-figure incomes. People that make the 7-figure incomes are the people that we naturally talk about here in the media. And that's just because it is what it is. We're not talking about the linemen that make, $100,000, maybe, $50,000 extra on the side, enough to buy him a car or maybe pay the parents' house off or something like that. We talk about those large money acquisition people. So it is strained, but it's not broken. And a lot of this is going to go away, okay, because when we kick off here towards the end of next month, nobody's going to be talking about it. We're going to be talking about the games. And we're going to go through, as we even get closer, week 1 games. We've got a lot of great matchups. So that was another point that he made. And lastly here, Sanky was talking about a non-conference game schedule will be looked at when we fix the playoff. So it seems like he's waiting to see how this run, we're having a phase 2 of the 12-team playoff to see how it works, how it's going, and how it's going to work this year. Here's the part that I don't like about it, and I'll talk about Coach Kelly at LSU said something interesting. It has to do with their schedule, and I'll use their schedule because he brought it up. They kind of ask about their off-week games. They're playing like Southwest Louisiana and La Tech. He said, which me and Dean talked about this 2 years ago or 3. Keep the money in state. If we're going to have our off-week games, Alabama, Auburn should be playing Jacksonville and Troy. And Auburn plays they played South Alabama. I'm pretty sure they may be. I have to look at their schedule again. Auburn's playing some of those. Keep the money in the state. There's no reason for Alabama every year to play Slidell. There's no reason for them to play Middle Tennessee or Chattanooga. I don't like that. I'm okay with everybody trying to get a piece of the pie. And Mal Moore back in the day was friends with the AD at Florida International. They'd come up here and play Bama for homecoming, and he would write them a check for $250,000, and it paid for them to buy all new band equipment, or it would pay. They paid them $500,000 one year to help them turf their field or buy a new scoreboard. That's what I like in light of these 8-game conference. We go to 9, we're going to lose some of that. And I think that's unfortunate. I think that is unfortunate. it's going to look better, on paper, and it's going to make for what it's all about, money. It's going to make for better sales for TV time on ESPN. These advertising people, Verizon, Golden Corral, Zaxby's, Ford, Mercedes, Nike, Under Armour, by advertising slots for these games, the SEC can sell that slot because they know ESPN can get the big advertisers on a spot for a Alabama and Florida again, to get those two, back playing. That's going to sell a better time spot and advertising slots than it would for Western Kentucky coming down to play Georgia. It's just money. So, and Georgia does play Georgia Tech, which they're a bigger school, but, you could play a South Georgia, or they don't have to play a Kennesaw State or something, but maybe start their starters like Georgia could play a Kennesaw State or something, and then start their guys and let them get a, good practice in for maybe the half. Take them out and let your second, third team guys play. It gives reps for your younger guys to get out there and feel the offense in a real live game atmosphere, and it keeps the money in state. Lets a smaller team come up and get to see the big lights. And why baseball, I know this for sure because I'm just talking to coaches, like at a Wallace State or Gadsden, like baseball or softball, they enjoy going up to play Auburn, Alabama. It gets their kids seen. But for the bigger school, I've heard this from a coach that Alabama and Auburn softball, they'll play those smaller schools, and they want to see that talent on that other team from the smaller school, and they may could find a talent they could pull up. Hey, that girl there's playing in second base. She's pretty good. Wasn't in a second baseman. Then you could, somebody could be in touch through another player or something. You can't do it illegally, but, she could finish the season and, bring them up. It's great eyes for a young person that, had to start and maybe didn't have the ACT score, maybe didn't have full, because baseball stuff don't get scholarship stuff, no way, but, a way to have enough money to be at a D1 school, and they just had to do what they had to do, but they're good players. So that, about the 9-game conference, I play 9 conference games in the schedule. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I hate it for some of the smaller schools. Now, lastly, it's about right, about 20, 30 minutes. LSU's Coach Kelly says graduation is the most successful thing for the players. It helps them prep for the NFL because they have a degree. And these young people learn how to deal with their money and how to take care of their families. And not just, people that come from not having money and all of a sudden they got a lot of money, they probably don't know how to handle the money. Then he talked about the fan base there at LSU. $3.5 million was given through the fans. So they've collected a lot of money to help, keep the stadium up and do those kind of things. But I was, I enjoyed what he was talking about. It seemed like there was a lot of precedent on. Sanky used this word degree, and right here graduation, big word that Coach Kelly used, and Kiffin, I saw his speech too. He also talked about it first. How many players? He said one of the first times that they had like 100% of the students to graduate with a certain GPA or something there. And Lane, of course, has set the record at Ole Miss for winning the most games in a season. So those are the things that we saw today. If you missed SEC Media Day, day one, they're trying to, keep focused on that, on graduating. And also Sankey did speak about kind of where we're at in the mud, and Auburn's being used for an example because he's saying that Freeze pretty much is Cohen is saying that everybody's cheating in the conference because they're last in recruiting. All the 15 teams are cheaters. And it seemed Sankey kind of just went around it in a short kind of way. I could trim it up here quickly and we'll get off that. That we're still waiting on things to be finalized for August 1st date and how these things are going to be written out specifically. Line 1, Section 2, Subtitle 3 says XYZ. And we've got some things out already. We've had some confirmation on some details about the $400,000 top, anything over, was it, $400 or $500 they had to turn in, and such forth. By all money, but the way I'd read it was if it's an NIL offer from a third party, such as, I use this one a lot because everybody's seen the commercial with Bryce Young or Dr. Pepper. They paid him millions of dollars to be on the commercial. That money, when this was all drawn out, the NIL collective, the money that a person is gaining money for, it's for their name, their image, and their likeness. So anything, the time that they use their self and use their name, they could be paid for it. It's kind of like they get to copyright their own name. That's fine. Because you notice, Bryce didn't have anything on Alabama. He had on a Dr. Pepper jersey. So, Sanky's saying there's still some murky water a little bit, and tomorrow we'll see more tomorrow, and I'll come back on tomorrow evening and kind of wrap it up and go through tomorrow morning at 10:25. Kirby's going to come on and speak. Freeze will be on at 12:15. Jackson Arnold, Kendrick Falk, and Connor Lou will be with him. Kirby's going to have Everett and Stockton and C.J. Allen, the linebacker, with him. Then Tennessee, Coach Hop will be on at 1:30. He's got with him the Carter kid and the tight end, the Miles kid, and their tackle, Eason. And then Texas Longhorns will come on last. Sark be at 3:15. He's going to bring on Anthony Hill Jr., that linebacker we just talked about Sunday last night. He's great. Arch Manning's going to be there. And, of course, the big-time D-back that they have. So the times tomorrow are 10:25, 12:15, 1:30, and 3:15. I'll try to make some acquaintance and some things to do through the day. Try to get on here probably about this time of day, between 6 or 7. And if you don't get to watch it, like most people don't during the day, I go back and watch some highlights for you so we can share this news. And I kind of take a few little notes here from each person. And then that news come down today about Teddy Bridgewater, which is absolutely just – that's ridiculous, man. I don't get it. And then the talk about Saban, we had to talk about that. Look, guys, I would see no reason. I don't know anybody that could give me any reason. Please hit the comments there and tell me if you think – is there any way at all, that Saban would have any reason at all to, why would he want to come back coach? What would be the point of that? We'll put it in here in the title here. Why would Saban want to get back on the field? But I mean, what has he got to prove? What's the point of anything that he would have to say? I don't get it at all. I mean, what is to prove with Nick Saban for him to get out there and have any type of leadway or any of that? I don't see why any of that would be prosperous at all for him. I'm trying to add this. Over here on the page and see. Okay. So anyway, his age one, he can't just hang out there and just do all night and all day. I mean, at some point, your mind slows down, your body slows down. Not saying that he can't do it. I'm not saying that, but Saban would have had to have really got himself together on a big. He needed some help, and there at the end, before he retired, man, we're talking about him and Kevin Steele was like hanging on. Those dudes are old, man. Coach Saban and Coach Steele, they've been around a long time. We're talking about late 60s, early 70s. They didn't have a real big staff. And kind of after Kirby left and, there wasn't there wasn't a real big group of, great coaches. And it had to be pushed back more on him. Well, he's not in his 30s or 40s anymore when he was, 50 something, at LSU. 20 years is a lot of time. It's a lot of difference in how you think, and not saying he's still not sharp, but I'm trying to think of some excuse why he would come back to coaching. I'm trying to think. Now you got GMs, for football teams, they got GMs now. So, maybe he's thinking, well, what if I got me a good GM and, but where would he go? Where would he go? Where would Saban want to return? I mean, where do you even go? Does he stay in the SEC? He's going to have him a staff. He'd have to put together an awesome crew. And most of the guys, look, man, Lanning was offered, we heard he was offered the head job before DeBoer. Supposedly, there was a phone call made to Kirby. Hey, we know you're not leaving Georgia, but just out of respect for you and the time you give at this program, we just think it would be rude if we just didn't at least make a phone call and say, Nick's retiring. The job's yours if you want it. We know you're not going to leave Georgia, but we had to at least say that we offered because of the time that Kirby give the blood, sweat, and tears to give the program. Dan Lanning was offered. Sark was offered. Maybe if Pruitt was still around, if all that crap wouldn't have went down at Tennessee the way it did, his name may, because if he was still around, I don't know. But Dan Lanning turned it down. And what I'm getting at to say is if Saban's coming back and he's going to have a good staff, that adequated to a lot of him winning. Now, I know having great players is one. You don't have to say, well, Matt, he had the best players. He had number one class, won like ever 4 times in 6 years. I know. And if he wasn't one, they were 2. So who's coming to coach with him? If we're going to break this down, we're going to have a legitimate, real conversation, a real live talk. I'm going to sit and look at this camera and we're going to talk about, entertain the idea that Nick Saban's coming back to coach college football. There has to be a process of, one thing, you got to get a staff together. That's the first thing. That's the most important thing. Because he can recruit and his name will bring players. Now, here's a question that I had run across on Twitter. If Bama wouldn't have had Bear and Saban, they would have been Ole Miss. Well, that's kind of stupid because if a frog had wings, he wouldn't bump his butt when he jumps, too. But it's just talk, just something to create conversation. So I went along with it. My idea and long thinking, I think deeply on stuff, probably too deep for most people. I'll probably get into it like real deep in my thought about, I can come up with a deep thought real quick. I'm a real philosophical kind of guy, when I do Bible study, I really, see it for the depth of it and the meaning behind it. So to answer those questions, if Bear and Saban wouldn't have come to Alabama, it would have been like Oxford. Well, I don't think so. In my macro view from 30,000 feet, not micro. Don't be a micro thinker. To answer that would be, well, geographically, the way the land lays and population wise, being a history major myself, studied a lot of history. Tuscaloosa was used as it was the capital of the state. During the Civil War, there was housing of troops down there in Tuscaloosa. Oxford didn't have the population wise, and we all know what I'm getting to. The point is, if you got a bigger pond, you're going to have better fish. You just have more to pick from. In Tuscaloosa, the area geographically did. So without them, would it have been Ole Miss? No, they still would have been successful in some way. Now, would they have won as much without Bear and Nick? Well, no, I wouldn't think so. So I'm bringing all this up to say, part two, he's got him a staff together. Where's he going to go? Where would Nick Saban go? Where does it logically, geographically, where in this country, what fits him? You can say, well, he didn't reboot for Alabama. He rebooted the university from some bad stuff they had went through, some bad coaching hires, some bad decisions. Had a ice cream machine in the weight room was the first thing he did. Sheila was there, and that's his first act. Supposedly, that's the story. Saban had an ice cream machine taken out of the weight room, had the TVs taken out. He was just getting the basics, that kind of thing. So I don't want to say he rebuilt them because Bama was winning before Saban's granddaddy. Probably, you know what I'm saying? Before his daddy was born, Alabama was winning. So does he want to do a rebuild type thing? Y'all tell me. Hit the comment section and, give me a lot of comments over there. Hey, subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube and like this kind of stuff. We come on during the week every Sunday right here at Locker Room Sports at 6 o'clock Central Time. If you're on Facebook, just hit the little blue thumbs up or the heart there. I'd appreciate it. And if your heart so desires, you can give. There's a little star button over there. You can give a star, or you can give $1 or $2, and it builds up in a little fund. And once it reaches $100, then you can cash it out. We'll put it back to the program from, using it to buy shirts or something to give away for kids, player of the week, or that type of stuff. So I don't know. I don't see any. I think, again, 3 times I've said this, and that'll be the last. I think it's just a lot of antiquated data that we just get from people because they're bored, and the season's, we're literally 6 weeks away from kicking off college football. So this guy, if he's going to get back into it, you don't think Sanky's going to talk to Nick? Absolutely. Heck yeah, he is. So, anyway, we will be back on probably tomorrow evening some more because we'll have, I said, Georgia and all those guys. So, again, make sure you like, subscribe on the channel. Find us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Instagram. I've just changed the stuff over there. Instagram I usually use for a lot of high school stuff, so we do appreciate it, and appreciate all the time and that you give me here 30 minutes, wrap up some media day 1 for the SEC. Things are moving. Tomorrow night, we'll get to talk about Auburn and Georgia. That'll probably be the more interesting takes on the day, so come back and let's hang out and let's talk about it. Hit the comment section. We'll chat it up. And answer the question over there. Why would Saban want to get back on the field? I don't know. Let's. Where would he go? Who can he pick to be on the staff? Because a lot of those good ones, man, they're already head coaches somewhere. I don't know. All right, appreciate you guys.